And I have your chart. It's almost in mint condition.
That looks great.
I
Yeah.
have
Thanks for keeping it.
I have your model sheets. Well, I don't know when they'll come in handy. So I imagine this is a real crossover in the sense that I think our two audiences might be unfamiliar with each other, one another. So maybe I can ask you a few questions.
Um, well, I guess let's get started. Did you want let's introduce yourself. I guess to my audience, they might not know who you are unless they come to any of my history panels on comics industry, but why don't you introduce yourself and your project?
I'm a historical figure. I'm Don Simpson. I'm the creator of Megaton Man, Border Worlds, Bizarre Heroes, and we're putting together this anthology called Megaton Man Multimensions. Megaton Man's been around for 40 years. I've been around 63 years, and I write, I draw, and I have a PhD in art history and architectural history.
Yeah, so I guess this project, it's an interesting project. We met at Baltimore Comic
Well,
Con
wait,
last year. So,
yeah, yeah. Wait, you got to tell me who you are.
well,
You got to
okay.
tell my audience who you are.
People, I guess, know me by various names: Inanimorphs, TransformARTive, Bash the Pinata. I've been working in I've been doing my own art for over a decade now. So full-time living, just making my own art, doing my commissions. The main reason for me for doing this is to finally get some of my comics, so many comic ideas in my head I want to get published. And I thought, hey, maybe doing a job, selling my art, going to conventions will be a great way to get that started. But been so busy, I haven't finished any complete comics yet. So I actually appreciate you asked me to do this because it actually kind of forced me to draw out some pages. Um, so I do that. Aside from the comics, I focus on history. So I like covering the history of narrative arts, transformative arts in that sense, which actually crosses over what we're doing with multi-mentions. I like the idea of playing around with fictional worlds, and I guess it's called the playground of the great literary game, borrowing other creators' characters and then experimenting with them. And just the whole entire history of conventions, fandom, art in general. It's all my shtick. So if people don't know, con history is something that I am involved in.
I know this because you presented yourself to me and you gave me a chart, and I was looking at it through. I was trying to find the Detroit Triple Fanfare and Dallas Fantasy Fair and all these other conventions. Um, yeah, you came up to me at Baltimore and presented yourself, and it was very professional. You gave me some of your published stuff, and I thought you'd be perfect for multi-mentions. The project was pretty far along. We've been working on it all through the year. Um, when was Baltimore? October, September?
It was September last year.
So you were kind of one of the last few people I invited, and you turned it right around pretty quickly. You did a two-page, and you did your homework too. You went back and I don't know what you did. But you cite the first issue of Megaton Man from 40 years ago. I don't even know if you had ever heard of me, or if you had that in your collection, or if you were just had to Google it.
Well, I know of your work from 1963. Um, and then I saw you did a piece about Ed Piskor, and I was looking at that at your booth as well. And you said that was going to be part of this project that I ended up being involved in. And I knew you mostly from some of your early collaborations. Pictopia is another one I know you from, specifically because my medium character kind of crosses over in the realm of what I want the medium to be, kind of crosses over what you do with Pictopia. So that's one of the reasons why I know of your work. You do great lettering. I'm probably going to ask you that later because I have no idea how to do word bubbles. So that's something I want to learn from professionals like you.
Well, maybe you can explain to me how does Shifter School and Medium interact? Are they part of the same universe?
So I mean, my comics aren't even out yet, so I'm not even sure I could spoil my own comics. But the medium is kind of my original character I've had for a while now. Um, I was raised in a Taoist family, and there's specific mythologies involving Taoist shamans and gods who come down from the heavens and just kind of push mankind back on the right track, just fixing little thing. This was around the time the Stephen Moffat version of the Doctor Who came out. So Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, and I kind of saw like similar vibes with some of these old Taoist shamans and what new Doctor Who was. And I've like I said, I have so many ideas in my head. Like a lot of these could be their own potential series, but I had an idea of just, having an issue set in different worlds, different genres, and the medium could pop through. So he's kind of so instead of traveling through like space and time like Doctor Who or Rick and Morty, he could travel through works of fiction. So he could jump into a comic, into a movie, into a book, and interact with these characters. So this was my way to kind of bridge all these different genres and stories I want to connect together and have one overarching character kind of interact with them. And so Shifter School is kind of in that, I guess I don't have a name for it yet, but I'm thinking metaverse for the medium. But Shifter School is part of that. And I'm borrowing an idea that Grant Morrison, I think, was trying to do with his Multiversity series that I've really, really liked. I'm not sure if he executed in the way that was promised, but when Grant Morrison was pitching Multiversity, he was talking about how all these different characters, each multiverse in the DC universe is a comic book in the other DC universe. And that by reading these comics, these characters from different universes can send a message through their comic series to tell them how to stop the big bad villain, which didn't really happen in multiversity. So that was kind of my idea for what I wanted to have in my series. So Shifter School is its own standalone thing, but there's probably going to be one or two issues where they specifically deal with the medium, and it's going to collect to a larger story where all my different multiverse characters eventually help the medium stops the big bad villain through their own story. So Shifter School is a comic series in my other comics, for example. So that's kind of the idea for it.
Oh, you're a kid. I'm
Yeah.
63, so I'm twice your age. If I can give you just a little bit of advice, you
Sure.
have wonderful materials. You have here's the Shifter School sheet you gave me. Here's the medium sheet. And the only thing lacking, and I would just give you this advice, make sure you have your trademark copyright on everything, all rights reserved, put a line of type on everything. Your comic sample, I consider you published. This is a lot further along than a lot of people I see. You've got a sampler here, you got medium, you got everything. It doesn't explain how it's all tied together, but that's okay. I mean, you'll find that I didn't have, it took me 40 years to get my stuff together, but I think you're doing fine. And yeah, I just think you're going at it the right way. It's very professional. Can I ask, what's your day job? Do you talk about that to your audience, or do you?
Well, my day job is vending at conventions, actually. So the only income I've had for the last decade is drawing my art, printing it on paper or a pin or a shirt, and then going to a comic, anime, furry con and selling it. That's been my only job. And like I said, I
Wow.
only did that because I thought it would be a great way to network and work on my own comics.
Do you come to the Pittsburgh show?
I have not yet. I know there's a big furry con in Pittsburgh called Anthrocon that I do every year, but I haven't done any other cons in Pittsburgh yet.
Because I live nearest to Pittsburgh, and Uh, it's like I said, it's a different audience from my usual thing. I border on. I have a lot of fans who are Doctor Who fans, even Peter Capaldi fans. I understand Peter Capaldi's not the most popular, but you're
Oh,
whatever
he's
one
my
you started
favorite.
with, the whatever one you started with is your favorite. But I have Doctor Who fans kind of adjacent. I have anime fans, manga fans, and so forth. But it's a different crowd. Mike Gazala does funny animals, and
Oh yeah, Funny Animals plays a big role in the history of the furry conventions, for example. I actually did a room party last weekend
musical
at.
anime in Detroit.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Oh, I was
Please
saying that
interrupt.
you said Funny Animals. I was saying Funny Animals is a big part of the history of furry and anime conventions in the United States. I did a room party last weekend where I kind of just did the entire history of conventions and showed the evolution through like different drinks that they would have at the room parties. And the furry room parties were really big, and they spun off of the Funny Animal comics people.
Uh, well, can you explain to me now? We talked at the show
Yeah.
about possible crossovers, and I said, why don't you do something with Simon, who is the son of Megaton Man and the See Through Girl, and apparently that appealed to you. What uh, I don't know if you can project or present the 2-page story, or just if we could just talk about that, what you did with that idea, and how do they interact with Medium and the Shifter School.
Yeah, so you gave me 2 pages, and that was really, really tight. I think that's actually why I've had issues trying to make comics because I would have an idea for a 1 page comic, and instantly when I script it out, it would be like 5 pages. So having to fit everything in 2 pages was a little tight. I knew I wanted to involve the medium and show how he moves through comics. So actually, I feel bad because of that didn't leave enough scenes for Shifter School proper. But I left it there. So if I wanted to continue it, we could add more pages for maybe a future or something. But you said Simon, and I was like, okay, a young kid character would be great to interact with. Um, One of the things, I guess, knowing your work with Alan Moore, and that's a little bit controversial, your experience with him. One of the things that
Oh, is it?
fascinated
Well,
me,
let me just say
sure,
it was a great creative experience.
yeah,
It was a great
okay.
creative experience back in the 80s. The decades since, it's gotten a little bit frayed just because Alan doesn't get along with anybody, apparently, so, or at least of all his collaborators. But no, it was a wonderful experience, actually. But I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No,
Could
no,
I present the Could I present the story? Could I show
sure.
you? Well, I guess I'll just zoom out a little bit. Can you see that?
Yep, I can
So
see it.
this is your 2-page story, and so yeah, I by this point I had over 100 pages of material. So most people did two or 3-page stories. A few people did 4 or 5-page stories, and I asked you if you could do 2 pages, and you took the challenge. But you found it very challenging to introduce, and you didn't just introduce Shifter School, you also introduced who's the Fox character. This is Jason Jin, the
That's
Fox
Jason.
shapeshifter.
Yep.
So you introduced him and Medium and the Shifter School. Quite ambitious. And you called back to my first issue from 40 years ago with
Hmm.
Megaton Man #1 and also Megaton Man #4, which is a flashback to the romantic scene where Simon is conceived on a rooftop, which Alan Moore stole from me. Did you know that? You know,
That's why I was mentioning Alan Moore because
I,
I've read that you were talking about how Megaton Man #4 was very, very similar to what Alan Moore later did with Watchmen, with Dr. Manhattan and Silk Spectre, going out on patrol with the crime busters. So this was a specific reference to it.
complete ripoff. but he
Um,
told me he told me he was gonna do. He said I said I met him in 1985, and we were friendly, and everything was wonderful still in the future. But he said, "Yeah, I'm going to rip off Megaton Man, but not really. I have a character called Doctor Manhattan. He's nuclear and so forth." And then he has this rooftop scene that's taken verbatim, and they even go on patrol. And I'm like, wait a minute. He's
so
doing
if you
this. He's
notice,
doing this for millions of readers, and I'm doing this for like 5,000 people or something.
So
So
if you notice that panel on top where kind of recreated that date scene with your two characters, and this is the conception of Simon. So this is what the medium is talking about using canon points in Simon's timeline to help him travel. You can see that I specifically referenced both your issue 4 and both Watchmen as well, the rooftop scene in Watchmen. So I drew the comics very, very similar. And if you notice the moonlight behind Megaton Man, I have a red shirt on the clothes hanger, and that's subtly to call back to the smiley face button and the blood splatter, which I think another viewer of yours pointed out.
wow,
Your
I didn't.
first ish, yeah. So that's kind of calling back. And if you notice the text,
And I
when Simon asks the medium, "Where are we?" and the medium says, "It looks like a different version of Manhattan," is also referencing that Doctor Manhattan also had a similar scene.
I never would have caught that. I'm sorry. My wireless connection is a little unstable, but yeah, that's pretty ingenious. The smiley
So
face and red cape. I like that. I would never have
yeah,
known that until you
so
explained it to me. Yeah.
yeah, so there's it's basically a tribute to both your work and I guess what Alan Moore did with Watchmen. Most people only remember Watchmen for the grim, gritty violence and cussing characters, but what Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, I think more tribute for Dave Gibbons visually, what they specifically did was put a lot of wordplay and visual wordplay into the images, which is what I did here. So you could see like I noticed the first issue of Megaton Man, the button on Megaton Man's cape looks almost like the Watchman smiley face with the blood pool behind it. So that's what I referenced there. And then that's a mirror image on the second page where you see the moonlight and the red shirt on the clothes hanger, also referencing the smiley face blood splatter.
That's brilliant. I never thought of that. I never thought of the smiley face being the button being a smiley face. That's amazing. Because I draw the button differently now. I draw the button a lot differently. Um, let me just let me show you just what I'm talking about. Just to give you an example.
Mhm.
So this is a modern button, and I actually did draw the threads. I usually don't even draw the threads anymore, but it's a little more of a dome with a kind of a cone or a cylinder cut out of it in the center. You could maybe show the cover in your edit, but yeah, I even draw the button differently now. That's brilliant, though. I never thought of that as the smiley face upside down. That's pretty cool. And
So
so you're thinking of all kinds of connections that I didn't
so
even
yeah,
see.
layers. So actually, if you actually look at the first page I sent you, it's actually almost a near identical recreation of the first page of Watchmen as well. So
Oh, okay.
the first page of Watchmen with the zoom in on the smiley face button and the zoom and it's in the puddle of blood and it's the pull out, slow pull out. And even down to when Simon's looking down at the comic that the medium jumped into, mirrors the detective looking over the balcony at the body of the comedian splattered on the ground.
Wow, I thought I'd left Alan Moore behind in this project, but apparently he still follows me. So, well, that's brilliant. Yeah, I'm just really really thrilled to have you in the project. And like I said, it's a younger audience, I'm sure, and it's a much more furry and funny animal oriented and anime oriented audience. When do you think you're gonna to to put out a whole comic book?
I I have the idea for Jace. So I guess each kind of season of Shifter School, I want to focus on a different character, and I think Jason is kind of like the perfect protagonist to introduce Shifter School since he's a little bit based on my experience going to a military boarding school, so that's why I kind of base Shifter School on. I'm worried about jumping into a big project. Everyone's saying don't jump into a big graphic novel right away. So I already scripted out I think it's about 24, 28 pages of a kind of like a one-shot test pilot that just jumps straight into the story. So it's a standalone piece. I just have it. I have the script on my laptop, and every time I fly across country to a con, I just slowly tidy and clean it up. And I think it's got to a point where it's like I think it's near done and perfect. It's just I need the time to now kind of lay out all the paneling and then finally get in and draw it. I'm probably going to make it just black and white, just so I could focus on that first without worrying about colors. But the goal with San Diego Comic Con, I have a table at the small press area at San Diego this year, and seems like a lot of people were interested with the previews I was giving out last year at San Diego Comic Con specifically for Shifter School. So my goal is to at least try to get this 28-page comic done in by July, so I have it ready for that con.
Okay, I just noticed on your shelf. Is that the Watchman behind you next to your
Oh yeah,
banner?
Oh yeah, Watchmen. It's the black and white version, so it just has Dave
Oh,
Gibbons raw ink art. I like it.
wow. Okay. Well, so you're gonna be at San Diego this year. You figure a 28 page black and white next year?
This year I'm hoping to get that 28 page black
Oh,
and white
good.
done by July. It's weird. I could, if I'm in the mood, I could pump out a lot of pages. Like I could stay up straight for 2 days and maybe get like 2 or 4 pages done, but then I won't be able to work for like 2 weeks. Like I have really, really weird art spurts. Like I could mope around and force myself to draw, but not draw anything for like 2 weeks. And then for a 48-hour period, I could just work straight through the night and just get everything done. So after the big convention in Atlanta in May, I feel like I have no other cons until July, so I'm just going to focus on finishing that pilot issue.
Do you work completely digitally or do you start with paper?
It's now digital. I used to do ink and bristleboard, but because I move around almost every year, and it's just hard carrying around giant packs of bristleboard. And specifically, there's the specific ink pen I like, and the ink was only sold by one company that's been out of business for over a decade now, and I bought up all the remaining supplies, and now that supply I bought up is all dried up. So that specific pen is how I do all my inking, and it's gone now. So I've gotten a giant Cintiq tablet. It's right by me. It's it's 27 inches, and I just translate my inking style to this tablet, and I think it works well.
So you wanted to ask me about lettering. What do you do for lettering? How do you do your
So that's a thing. I don't know how to do lettering. So what I do is I kind of beforehand, I kind of space out where I think the letters will go, but I try to draw the entire piece first, and then I take it onto I think Clip Studio or yeah, Clip Studio, and then I type it out in my I so I have a font that's based off my handwriting that I use. I type it out, and then I just draw, and then I draw a word bubble around it. So I just draw a word bubble by hand. So I don't have a program that can make word bubbles, which I think would be easier for me, but I just draw the word bubble by hand. And well, I guess it's probably nice because it's all organic. It also is very, very inconsistent at times, which is what I want to improve. I can't hand draw word bubbles for, 100-page comics. So that's why I'm trying to find other options to see what to do.
Do you have Adobe? Do you have Adobe Illustrator? You can
I
do
do not know.
vector. Yeah, it's that's probably the best way to do outlines for word balloons is the vector drawing. If you have any experience with that, it's a little bit different from hand drawing, but because you're like pulling out these bars and tilting them around and stuff. But you can get pretty organic looking word balloons that way. I did some. I've done some. Mostly, I'm still committed to hand lettering, but I've done some. I did even in multi-mentions. I did a few balloons in with type and with a font and so forth. Well, I think that about covers it. You can kind of boil this down into something coherent. This is great. When is your convention history going to come out? Have you?
That one is I've been working, everyone's been asking because I do panels on the topic at cons every year, but I keep on saying a book is coming out, but it's actually the opposite problem I have when I first started. When I first started, there was virtually no information on early conventions, and now there's been a flood of new information on these early cons. So it's involving me trying to rewrite things. Um, so what I'm thinking about doing, and I actually have about 10 test pages already done, is I'm actually going to turn at least specific stories in the history I've been researching into a comic series. So right now I'm working on a comic series just leading up to the first Worldcon. So it's about the foundation of the science fiction fandom in New York City specifically, and how they kind of emerged and gave way to what became known as the science fiction fandom and what eventually became the very first conventions.
Well, looking forward to that. Yeah, I think we covered just about everything. So again, I'm
Anything
just
you want to
really
cover? Because I'm gonna say it's very impressive. I know we had some delays getting the Kickstarter started, but once it went live, it received a large percentage of funding really, really fast. So I'm really impressed with that.
well, we're hopeful. We got our fingers crossed. We're gonna try to make the last few weeks count, and yeah, really proud of the way it's turned out. The whole thing's ready to go. We just need our backers, and we're very grateful for the support we've gotten so far. So hopefully it will be out. You're going to be doing Baltimore. You'll hopefully be out by the summer conventions or the late summer, early fall conventions,
Yep.
August, September at least. And yeah, I guess I'll see you on the trails.
Hopefully at Baltimore again.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Of course. Thank you very much.